Have you ever wondered who you would be if no one was watching? If there were no expectations to meet, no roles to perform, no one to impress, disappoint, or explain yourself to? This is the question we rarely ask. Not because it is difficult to understand, but because it is difficult to face. If identity is who you are, then why does it change so easily, depending on where you are and who you are with? From the moment you are born, you are taught how to be someone. You learn what earns approval and what brings rejection. You learn when to speak and when to stay quiet. You learn which parts of yourself are welcomed and which parts must be hidden. None of this happens through formal instruction. It happens through reaction. A smile reinforces one behavior. Silence discourages another. Over time, these responses shape a version of you that fits the environment. This version becomes your mask. A mask is not a lie in the traditional sense. It is a survival tool. Humans are social creatures, and belonging has always been tied to safety. Long before modern society, rejection meant isolation, and isolation meant danger. The brain evolved to adapt, to blend, to perform. The mask is the mind's way of ensuring acceptance. It is not created to deceive others. It is created to protect you. The problem begins when the mask stops being something you wear and starts being something you are. When you repeat a role often enough, it becomes familiar. Familiarity turns into habit. Habit turns into identity. Eventually, the line between the performance and the person blurs. You stop asking whether the mask reflects you or replaces you. You simply assume it is you. Psychologist Carl Jung described this social face as the persona. The persona is the character you present to the world, shaped by culture, expectation, and necessity. Jung warned that over-identifying with the persona leads to inner conflict. When the outer role dominates, the inner self retreats. The parts of you that do not fit the role do not disappear. They go underground. These hidden parts form what Jung called the shadow. The shadow contains traits, desires, fears, and impulses that were discouraged or rejected early in life. It might include vulnerability, anger, ambition, creativity, sensitivity, or defiance. The shadow is not evil. It is simply unexpressed. But when ignored for too long, it begins to influence behavior indirectly. This is why people often feel disconnected without knowing why. They may succeed socially and professionally, yet feel hollow. The mask works, the performance is effective, but something essential feels missing. This discomfort is not a flaw. It is a signal. It is the inner self asking for acknowledgement. Identity becomes even more complicated in modern life because you do not wear just one mask, you wear many. One for work, one for family, one for friends, one for strangers, one online. Each version is slightly different. Each one responds to a different audience. Switching between them becomes automatic, but constant switching comes at a cost. Fragmentation. When you spend too much time adjusting yourself to fit external expectations, you lose track of internal consistency. You begin to define yourself by reaction rather than intention. You are not choosing who you are becoming. You are responding to what is rewarded. Social media intensifies this process. Platforms reward certain traits: confidence, humor, certainty, outrage, vulnerability, but only the kind that performs well. Over time, people learn which versions of themselves get attention. Those versions are amplified. Others are silenced. Identity becomes curated. Expression becomes strategic. The danger is subtle. When validation becomes the measure of authenticity, the mask hardens. You stop experimenting with who you are. You stick to what works. Growth slows. Curiosity fades. The self becomes predictable. Comfortable, but confined. Many people do not realize they're wearing a mask until it starts to crack. This often happens during moments of crisis: burnout, loss, failure, loneliness. When the external structure collapses, the persona can no longer hold everything together. The question arises suddenly and forcefully. Who am I without this role? This question can feel terrifying because the mask provided clarity. It told you how to act, who to be, what to value. Without it, there is uncertainty, but uncertainty is not emptiness. It is possibility. Beneath the mask is not nothing, it is complexity. The fear of removing the mask is not the fear of being nothing. It is the fear of being seen. Seen without control. Seen without preparation. Seen without approval. Authenticity carries risk, it always has. That is why masks exist. But authenticity also carries relief. When you stop performing, energy returns. When you stop managing perception, attention turns inward. You begin to notice what you actually feel instead of what you are supposed to feel. This awareness can be uncomfortable at first. Many people mistake it for anxiety. In reality, it is alignment trying to reestablish itself. There is also a cultural myth that authenticity means expressing everything at all times. This is not true. Authenticity is not unfiltered impulse. It is congruence. It is when your actions, values, and inner experience move in the same direction. Masks are not the opposite of authenticity. Unconscious masks are. You will always adapt to context. That is human. The difference lies in awareness. Are you choosing how you show up? Or are you defaulting to what feels safe? Are you aware of the mask you are wearing? Or do you believe it is your face? The most revealing moments often happen when you are alone. Without an audience, the persona relaxes. Thoughts change. Posture shifts. Energy settles. This is why solitude feels different. It removes the need for performance. It is not that you become someone else when you are alone. You become less filtered. Pay attention to who you are in those moments. Not who you judge yourself to be, but who naturally emerges. What do you think about? What do you want? What do you avoid? This is not the full truth of who you are, but it is closer. The work of identity is not about destroying masks. It is about integrating them, recognizing the roles you play without losing contact with the self beneath them, allowing different parts of you to exist without forcing them into exile. This integration takes courage because it may require disappointing others. It may require changing patterns. It may require letting go of an identity that once protected you but no longer fits. Growth often feels like loss before it feels like freedom. The unsettling truth is this: many people live entire lives without ever removing the mask. They perform well, they meet expectations, they are praised, and they remain strangers to themselves. Not because they were dishonest, but because they were never encouraged to ask who they were beneath the role. So here is the question to sit with. If every role you play were stripped away, if every expectation fell silent, if no one was watching and nothing was required, who would remain? And would you recognize them as yourself?